Am I the asshole for ruining my brother's marriage because his wife left me at the pool? Update is here. The mods wouldn't let me post because this post isn't old enough. Throwaway. This whole situation is so bizarre that I still can't really process it. It still doesn't feel real, but I feel scared and guilty. 19F. Had surgery a couple days ago to get all 4 of my wisdom teeth out, and because I have a really bad fear of dentists, they had to drug me pretty hard to do the removal. Not like laughing gas that wears off really fast, but actual IV medicine, so I was pretty much unconscious during the whole thing. They told me to have a responsible adult drive me to the appointment and back because the meds they gave me would make it dangerous to drive. My mom was on a work trip and couldn't take me, so I asked my sister-in-law Bree, 24, not her real name, if she could do it, as the whole thing would only take an hour or 2. I even offered gas money because the dental office is about 45 minutes away. I would have asked my brother, but he works during the day while Bree is a stay-at-home mom to their 2-year-old daughter, who I think was at Bree's mom's house that day. Bree agreed to take me to my appointment and the surgery went fine. Bree waited in the lobby for me to be done. When I came out of anesthesia, I was very disoriented and nauseous, which I guess is normal. I had gauze shoved in my mouth to stop any bleeding, and Bree took me to her car after I was let go. I don't really remember much of the drive, but it felt like not enough time passed before Bree got out of the car and told me to come with her. I was really out of it and just followed her because the alternative was staying in the hot car. Long story short, we were at a pool? I was really confused, but once we were through the gate, Bree basically parked me at one of those little table benches, said she'd be back in a while. I was still trying not to puke and was really dizzy from the heat, 90+ degrees, and the drugs, so I asked her to take me home, but she wouldn't. I guess since it was her day off and she didn't have my niece, she was meeting friends at the pool. I was starting to feel really sick and on the verge of passing out or having a panic attack, so I called my brother. I don't think he could understand me between the meds and the stuff in my mouth because he hung up and I guess called Bree because she came stomping back over, cussing and yelling at me, and took me back to the car. I passed out on the drive home, but when we arrived my brother had left work and met us in the driveway. He was screaming at Bree and she was crying. I was still pretty disoriented, but my brother took me back home and stayed with me until the meds wore off. That's when he told me he's divorcing Bree because of what she did plus some other things he didn't go into detail about. It's been a few days since then and Bree has been blowing up my phone telling me what a bitch I am and how me tattling destroyed her family. Part of me feels bad because of my niece and I wonder if I should have JJST dealt with it and waited for her to be done at the pool instead of calling my bro and causing problems. Am I the asshole? He's divorcing Bree because of what she did plus some other things. You're not the reason they're getting a divorce. But if you find out the reason, please come back and update because inquiring minds want to know. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Not remotely. And you did not ruin their marriage. The other things your brother didn't detail? Sounds like Bree's treatment of you was a last straw. Oh honey, not the asshole at all. Whilst I understand how you think you should have just suck it up and kept quiet, you were also post-op and under the effects of heavy drugs. What she did was very irresponsible and childish. I also don't think that's the sole reason why your brother is thinking of divorce. It sounds like the final nail in the coffin though. Their marital problems are not yours and are in no shape or form your fault. Oh wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like this. Thank you all for the reassurance, it really does help. I still don't know what my brother meant by other things, but if I find out I'll post an update. Thank you all again, it means a lot. Not the asshole. You did not ruin your brother's marriage. She did. This sounds like the latest stunt she's pulled in a long line of thoughtless and harmful behaviors. He's not divorcing Bree because of this. This was just the last straw. Not the asshole, kiddo. Not your fault in any way. Am I the asshole for selling food to a teenage customer knowing this goes against his parents' wishes? I have a deli in a small community. Recently, this kid who is 13 or 14 has been coming and buying some food that are apparently forbidden in their religion. I don't want to mention specifics. Think something like pork for Muslims or Jewish people. They are neither Muslim nor Jewish, I'm just making an example. I'm not one to judge people for the food they eat. If you pay for it, you'll get it. I'm running a business here and I don't want to turn customers away. His parents came to me and asked me to not sell him these specific items which he's not allowed to eat. And I said this is not really my business. This sounds like a matter between them and their child and really there's nothing I can do here. The mother said the son is going through a phase and I can help, but I just said no because nobody is forcing the child to come here, and quite frankly if I don't sell it the kid goes somewhere else. It's not as if I'm the only one selling this forbidden food around. He can buy it from 10 other places in a 5-minute walk. The mother said then, you could have been 10% of the solution instead of 0%, and they were upset and left disappointed. I explained it to my wife and she said, to my surprise, that I could have helped them out and the way I dismissed them was rather asshole-ish, so that's why I'm here to see what people think. Not the asshole. His parents were asking you to help them enforce rules from a belief system that this kid clearly isn't interested in following. If he's a teenager he's old enough to start making decisions about what he believes, and if his parents are so worried about it they should have a genuine conversation with the kid instead of having random deli workers refuse him service in an attempt to control what he does and enforce their belief system onto him. I'd say not the asshole. It isn't your job to parent the kid. As long as you're not selling him something illegal, you're minding your own business. Not the asshole. It's not your problem to have to remember to enforce someone's arbitrary beliefs. Not the asshole. You were absolutely correct, it's not your business, and it's between them. The parents trying to put the responsibility on you was 100% in the wrong. Not the asshole. He's a paying customer, it's not your place to police what he eats. Not the asshole. It isn't something he's allergic to, so you're doing nothing wrong. He's of an age where he's allowed to start making decisions for himself, within reason. My 13-year-old has just made the decision to go vegan and I respect that and instantly said okay. If one of my children decided to follow a particular religion, we aren't religious but in-laws are deeply religious, I would say okay and support them. It isn't on a shopkeeper, stranger to enforce a religion he is clearly rebelling against. It is for his parents to sit down and have a talk about. And it's down to the kid to decide what he truly wants. Trying to force it is just going to backfire spectacularly on the parents. Am I the asshole for asking my in-laws the same questions they ask me? Hello Reddit. IF 30 got engaged to my fiancé a month ago. My in-laws, especially Mill, are the type of people that ask a lot of questions, personal questions at that. Their questions tend to be hurtful sometimes, but I tried not to get easily offended and mistake it personal. But those questions are getting out of control. Instead of lashing out and being rude, I've decided to answer these questions by turning it back on my in-laws and asking them the same questions they ask me. For example, whenever my fiancé and I are visiting, my Sil would ask, "Hey, when are you going to lose those pounds?" I go, "When are you going to lose those pounds? You've put up a lot of weight recently," while pointing at her eyes wide open. She'd get then, easily offended. Phil would ask, "When are you going to get your own house?" I go, "When are you going to get your own house? Aren't you 73 and still paying rent for your house? They live in rental house." He gets, highly offended. Bill would ask, "When are you going to get married?" I go, "When are you going to get married? You don't even have a girlfriend yet." They've obviously picked up on my vibe. But the blow-up occurred last night when my fiancé and I were at their house for dinner. Mill looked at me whole I was eating and went on about kids and grandchildren. She then asked, "When are you going to start giving us babies?" My fiancé looked at me with an "oh boy" type of way. I felt no hesitation. I looked at her and said, "When are you going to start giving us babies? That's what I want to know." The table went quiet though some family members laughed. Mill and her daughter and husband mad, all types of angry faces. Then dinner was over. I got scolded by my fiancé on the way home, telling me I was being rude with the way I talk back and respond to his family's innocent questions. Yeah, questions they've already asked a million times before. Hard eye roll. But whatever. We got into an argument and he then looked at me and said, "Why are you being hostile?" I said, "Why are you being hostile?" getting in my face and yelling. He yelled at me again saying I'm driving him crazy and called me childish and an immature, then stormed off to the bathroom. Am I the asshole really? Not the asshole. This is hilarious. Your in-laws are being rude, and at this point should be able to predict how you'll answer these questions. Does your fiancé really not think they're being invasive? Maybe talk about this before you get married. Edit. Thank you whoever gave me gold. I've never gotten it before. Not the asshole. Are you sure you're excited to become a part of this family? They kinda treat you like shit. And your fiancé doesn't have your back. Is this really how you want to live the rest of your life? Can you imagine how awful they will be if you decide to have children? I can hear Sil now. When are you gonna lose the baby weight? Not the asshole just because this is too funny, and if your fiancé can't see that himself, Let him answer all future questions his family choose to throw at you. Just keep eating or doing whatever you were doing when asked and leave him in the hot seat. Heart. Not the asshole. There's a lot of adages for this nosiness that you could use here. Don't dish what you can't take. Ask stupid questions. Get stupid answers. What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. But I think I'm just gonna go with an old quote from an unknown source. When karma comes back to punch you in the face, I want to be there. Just in case it needs help. Not the asshole. I get that you were frustrated and just wanted to prove a point that they clearly didn't get. My issue is with the fiancé. He knows these questions are invasive and upset you. Why is he letting his family off the hook saying they are innocent questions? Why do their feelings matter more than yours? This is a glimpse into your future. The time to address it is now. Not the asshole. Really, you're hilarious. This is such an ingenious way of showing people that what they say was out of bounds. They're all angry because you were effective. Your significant other knew it was coming. That's why he had that look on his face. While it might be a bit silly to ask people in their 70s when they'll give babies, I think the spirit in which you asked it was downright hilarious. It also goes along with a belief of mine. Don't dish it out if you can't take it. Am I the asshole for not making him what he wants? My sil and her husband arrived last night. As we were helping them get their stuff into the guest room, her husband, who I've met like 3 times, said, "Waffles for breakfast would be great." I was a bit taken aback, but then I assumed it was a joke that didn't land well. We don't have a waffle iron anyway. I made the usual eggs, beans and toast for breakfast. When Sil and her husband came in, he frowned and asked where the waffles were. I said I didn't make any. He asked why. I was a touch annoyed and said this isn't a restaurant. He said they are guests and their needs should be taken into account. Then he said he was allergic to beans. I asked why he didn't tell me he was allergic to beans. He said he told me he wanted waffles and the reason why shouldn't matter because they are guests. My husband jumped in and said eat eggs and toast or go get breakfast elsewhere. He left with Sil. Did I break an etiquette rule? Was I an ass? Don't waffle. Sounds like he left with egg on his face. Be glad he's toast. Edit. Judgment is in, not the asshole. Only one being the asshole was Bill. Credit you. What old chap, who is clearly very punny. Not the asshole. What universe does this person live in where he thinks this is normal at all? Hospitality is one thing, but guests are also expected to be polite and gracious. I cannot imagine demanding a specific meal from a host that made zero indication that they would be making me specialized meals. There's a saying, guests, like fish, begin to smell after 3 days, but your Sil's husband managed to stink after several minutes. You're not a hotel, nor a restaurant, and if he had specific dietary needs or expectations he should have communicated this in advance. Not the asshole, but good luck with the rest of this trip. Not the asshole. There is no rule of etiquette in the world that states your guests can treat you like a personal restaurant. If he is allergic to beans, he can still eat the eggs. If he is so allergic you can't have beans in the house, he also knows he has to mention that to people regardless of what you may or may not make. Not the asshole. Normally if someone has a serious allergy, they tell others as soon as possible but don't order special food. Sometimes they even bring their own food. That's how it's done here. Not the asshole. You should have looked right at your brother-in-law and said, the nearest Waffle House, or breakfast restaurant, is X miles away, or, staying at hotels when you're away from home is also great. Being a guest doesn't entitle you to order around the host. Sure, you should communicate if there are things you hate to eat or cannot eat, but you don't demand a specific menu and expect to get your way when you're a guest. Doing crap like that is a good way to not be welcome as someone's guest anymore. I myself am not a fan of beans or most common breakfast-style eggs, but if I didn't want what the host had available for me to eat, I'd either ask if they had any cereal on hand that I could have, or I'd take my happy ass to go eat at a restaurant.